Bunratty Castle is the most complete and authentic castle in all of Ireland. Bunratty is a translation of the Irish expression for castle at the mouth of the Ratty. The site on which Bunratty Castle stands was originally a Viking trading camp destroyed by High King Brian Boru in 977. The 15th century tower house which stands today is the last of 4 castles to be built on the site. Bunratty Castle was in ruins in the mid-20th century and was in danger of being demolished for stones. Viscount Gort, a medievalist, bought the castle in the 1950s for a nominal sum, saving it for posterity. Encouraged by a small group of individuals, including the archaeologist John Hunt, they set about returning the castle to its former splendor. The extensive restoration work began with the help of the Office of Public Works, the Irish Tourist Board, and Shannon Development. It was then opened to the public in 1962 as a national monument and is open to visitors year-round. Today, the Castle and Farm Park is open every day of the week from 9 a.m. until 5:30 p.m., but the last admission ends at 4 o'clock. Michael and I did not know this when we arrived. We actually got there at 5 minutes to 4, thinking we had an hour and a half. They did let us in, but we had to really rush through the castle, and unfortunately the bottom 2 floors were already closed for the day because they were setting up for a medieval dinner theater show. Prices vary depending on the size of your group. I think ours cost about £15 each. We really did enjoy this beautiful walk through this recreated old Irish village. We would have loved to have had time to enjoy it more, but we were kind of in a rush to get onto the castle. As far as I'm aware, there's only 2 ways to get inside this castle, and they both involve steps. This is the front entrance, or I guess you could say the back entrance if you're considering the front facing the road, and this is the nicer of the 2 flights of stairs. So like I said, we got to the castle thinking we had an hour and a half to spare, but we actually only had 5 minutes before they cut tours off. So they guided us up these stairs to the right, which meant that we missed the bottom 2 floors. That would be the basement floor and then the main guard. And we were actually really bummed when we found out why. Bunratty does a dinner theater show. It's a 4-course meal certain nights of the week, if not every night of the week. And they had already closed off those bottom 2 floors so they could start setting up for the guests. But we have decided we are absolutely coming back if we can ever make it through this way again, and we do not want to miss that dinner theater show because that looked so cool, and I would really love a chance to have a dinner show theater inside a castle. I think that would be amazing. As you can see, the castle that we are walking into is more modern than the Brian Boru days when this area was originally conquered. This present castle is the last of a series of, I think, 4 sitting on this same site, and this castle was built around 1425. During the 16th and 17th centuries, it was an important stronghold for the O'Brien family, the kings, and then later Earls of Thomond and North Munster. The furnishings that you see are mostly from the 15th and 16th century in the style of the period of the Great Earl from that time. The walls in this room are hung with French, Belgian, and Flemish tapestries. One of these cupboards is dated from 1570, but there are 2 and I wasn't sure which one it was, so either one of these pieces of furniture is from 1570. Typical me, I am generally more impressed by the ceiling inside of old buildings like this than anything still standing in the building. I just thought this ceiling was an absolute work of art. While Michael walks around and shows you this great hall with his GoPro, I'm going to give a quick history lesson on Bunratty Castle. Like I started to say earlier, Bunratty Castle stands on what originally was a Viking trading camp in the 970s. It was conquered by Brian Boru and has since been a series of 4 castles on probably about the same site. Robert de Musgros, who was a Norman, built the first defensive fortress on this site. It was probably an earthen mound with a strong wooden tower around 1250. His lands were later granted to Thomas de Clare, who built the first stone castle on this site. About this time, Bunratty was a town of about 100 people. In 1318, Richard de Clare, who was the son of Thomas de Clare, was killed in a battle between the Irish and the Normans. His followers were routed and the castle and town were completely destroyed. The castle was restored for the King of England, but was laid waste in 1332 by the Irish chieftains of Thomond under the O'Briens and the McNamaras. It lay in ruins for 21 years until it was rebuilt by Sir Thomas Rokeby, but was once again attacked by the Irish, and the castle remained in Irish hands thereafter. The powerful McNamara family built the present structure around 1425, but by 1475 it had become the stronghold of the O'Brien family, the largest clan in North Munster. The McNamara family built around 50 towers and castles around Thomond during this time, and Bunratty was one of those castles. In 1475, the castle became the property of the O'Briens, although certainly not through conquest, as the relationship between the McNamaras and the O'Brien clans were very close, but possibly it was passed through marriage or in a tribute. The O'Briens expanded the castle, and at some point before 1558, it became the capital of Thomond. Under King Henry VIII's surrender and regrant scheme, the O'Briens were granted the title Earls of Thomond as they agreed to profess loyalty to the King of England. As part of the conditions of this, his family abandoned Irish traditions and renounced the Catholic faith, becoming adherents of the new Anglican Church. The O'Briens ruled the territory of North Munster and lived in great splendor. The castle was surrounded by beautiful gardens, and it was reputed to have a herd of 3,000 deer. The reign of the O'Briens came to an end with the arrival of the Cromwellian troops, and the castle and its grounds were surrendered. The O'Briens never returned to Bunratty, but later they built a beautiful residence at Dromelin Castle, which is now a luxury 5-star hotel. Bunratty Castle and its lands were granted to various plantation families, the last of whom was the Studdart family. They left the castle in 1804, allowing it to fall into disrepair. There is no way to get around inside this castle except for these tiny, winding, narrow stairs. Michael and I were both trying very hard not to bump our head most of the way. At the visitor center, we were given a little fold-out map of this castle, and it does list what all the rooms are, but it's a little bit difficult to tell by looking at the diagram of the castle exactly which room is which. I know there's 2 or 3 bedrooms at least in this castle, and I think this is what is called the upper bedroom per the fold-out map. There was absolutely no information given about it or the furnishings, but I thought some of them were really cool, especially the trunk in the floor with a date on it. This is a sneak peek here into the South Solar. We thought this was all we were going to be able to see, but turns out we'll get a better view of that later. There are several places you can go outside on the top of the castle. This is the first one we came to, and I thought this old stonework and stairs was really cool, but the views are just stunning. I think this is an awesome place for a big castle because you can see for miles in every direction. It seemed like all staircases lead you back down to this great hall, and I didn't mind at all because every time I walked into it, I was impressed all over again with how magnificent it is. This next room we're walking into is known as the North Solar, and it was the private apartment of the Earl and his family. I really like the floor and this incredible fireplace. This oak paneling that you see dates to around 1500, and the table is said to have been salvaged from the wreck of one of the Spanish Armada's ships. I'm not going to try to pronounce what this is in German, but it's a fixture that was seen throughout this castle with female figures, and they were usually like part mermaid and had antlers and candles. Just off of the North Solar sits the Earl's bedroom. The room is draped with damask, and there is a magnificent carved bed. One of her ladyship's dresses on the bed is elaborately beaded. This 15th century cupboard with a writing flap is an extremely rare piece of furniture. This is another chapel in this castle. I think this is the private one, just for the Earl and his family. We weren't exactly sure what this room was, but we think it was the Earl's pantry. And per the little brochure we were given, it said that this room could have been used either as a kitchen or as servants' quarters. And then we were back on top of the castle again, looking back towards the direction that we had entered the castle through the moat. And we are looking backwards, away from the highway, away from the river, towards where the farm park is. For reference, Michael is 6 foot even, and I am 5'7", and the two of us bumped our heads quite a few times inside this castle on these windy stairs. The stairs down from the top brought us back down to the Great Hall, and we had to walk around and admire it again. This is the public chapel directly off of the Great Hall. It has a 16th century stucco ceilings and several precious 15th century artifacts. This next room is the Earl's kitchen. Food was cooked here for guests in the Great Hall. These large turtle shells that you see hanging on the wall were actually used as dishes or covers for food. And this room was a little ahead of its time, having its own garbage chute. I did not actually catch the name of what room this is. I think this is the captain's quarters, which was named for the captain of the guard. But I'm not entirely sure about that because we didn't see a sign on the door as we walked in, and the map is not 100% clear which one this is. As you can see, this is called the South Solar Bedroom. Our map diagram doesn't give any more information about the furnishings or anything else about this room. This also was not listed on our map. I have a couple guesses what it could be, but I have no idea what it actually is. We are now entering the South Solar, which is made up of apartments for guests.
Lüsterweibchen, Lüsterweibchen.
This might be my favorite room in the whole castle. It's in the South Solar. The ceiling is a replica of a Tudor-style ceiling. There wasn't much information in our brochure about all this furniture and these paintings. But there is a rare virginal in here, and I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but it's from 1661 and signed Jacobus White Londini.
Must have been the last owners, because you see this guy's in a tie.
But it's a painting, not a photograph.
Yeah.
And that pretty much wrapped up all of Bunratty Castle that was open for us at the time we arrived. We went down this little set of stairs and found ourselves in a little foyer that led to the exit. This is the backside of the castle as we came out down the stairs. We were at this point contemplating if we wanted to book a dinner theater for that night because we were kind of bummed we got to miss 2 of the floors and we had such a good time in the castle we weren't really ready to leave. But we did look it up online and it was sold out for the night, so we didn't get to do that, but we did enjoy walking around looking at the farm park.
Oh, that's a cool shot because it looks dark on the, come here and look, it looks dark on the foreground and you can see the clouds in the back.
Bunratty Folk Park is a living reconstruction of the homes and environments of Ireland over a century ago. On the right here you see a blacksmith's forge. He was one of the most important and respected members of the community. On the left is Loophead House. This is the house of a fishing farming family in West Clare. The thatched roof is roped down to protect it against the Atlantic gales. This is the schoolhouse, and it could have accommodated up to 80 children. This is the doctor's house. The parlor in this house is used as both a dispensary and for surgery. McInnery & Sons used to be a hardware store. Now it's a gift shop, and this is where I finally found the claddagh ring I had been looking all over Ireland for. We had not expected the farm park to be so extensive, and we really enjoyed walking around looking at it, but the whole park was about to close, and so we had to make our way to the exit, and on our way out we stopped and bought a couple coffee mugs and some postcards for our friends and family back home. Bunratty Castle was one of my absolute favorite things we did while we were in Ireland. I think Michael would probably say the same. And we definitely are putting it tops on our to-do list when we come back to Ireland in the future, when we can spend the whole day at the folk park and get to view the whole castle top to bottom. And we will absolutely have dinner at the dinner theater show.